Hi, this is Marc Elias, founder of Democracy Docket. You know, when Donald Trump took the oath of office for the second time, all eyes immediately turned to the courts. You may remember we saw all of these executive orders that came down one after another after another. He did them very theatrically. A lot of them were just total trash, but there were some of them that were trash and had terrible outcomes for people. And at the same time, we saw Elon Musk's Doge rummaging through the federal government and destroying agencies and firing personnel. And all of a sudden, the courts took center stage. Like the courts were the thing for the first 3-4 months of the Trump administration, and everybody had confidence and everybody was celebrating that the courts were holding up against this assault. I've noticed a real turn, though, in the last few months and particularly in the last few weeks. And skepticism and cynicism has again stepped forward and has seeped into so many people in the opposition movement, what some people call the resistance. I think opposition's a better term. But the point is that people are once again needing to rely on the courts, particularly the federal courts and particularly the Supreme Court, to protect free and fair elections. And there is a lot of distrust and skepticism that is up to the task. So I had an opportunity to talk about this with Nicolle Wallace on her great show. And I'm going to show you some clips of me talking to her about this moment and how much to trust the court, how much not to trust the court, how much to rely on it and not. But I want to give you the benefit of my thoughts on this directly. Look, the courts are not perfect. The courts are going to disappoint us. Lord knows the Supreme Court is not perfect and is going to disappoint us. But we cannot set ourselves up to expect it to do the wrong thing. We cannot set up a permission structure where it can rule against democracy and everybody just says, well, that's the way it goes. We need to hold the Supreme Court to its precedent, to the Constitution, to the rule of law, to doing what is right for our democracy. You know, a number of years ago, I argued a series of cases in the U.S. Supreme Court challenging maps for being racial gerrymanders that discriminated against black voters. And at that time, the doomsayers, the naysayers, the people who are professional skeptics in ivory towers all thought I'd lose. They thought I'd create bad law. And instead, I won 4 cases in the U.S. Supreme Court. It wound up leading to redrawn maps in North Carolina, in Virginia, in the Virginia state legislature. And the results were not just fairer maps, but improved maps for minority voters. And that was something that at the time, like I said, people said wouldn't happen, but it did. And it's because we insisted that we argue these cases and apply the legal precedent and insist that the court follow those precedent. You know, more recently, in the last just 3-4 years, my law firm has represented black voters in Alabama in a case that went to the U.S. Supreme Court that, again, the professional skeptics and cynics and naysayers all said was going to lead to the overturning of the Voting Rights Act. Instead, it led to the creation of a second black opportunity district in the state of Alabama, which right now is in place. We also brought a lawsuit in North Carolina challenging that state's redistricting map. And the back and forth of that litigation led to Republicans going to the U.S. Supreme Court trying to take away the ability of state Supreme Courts and state courts to apply their state constitutions to these redistricting disputes. And again, everyone thought we'd lose. And instead, in Moore v. Harper, where my law firm proudly represented Becky Harper, we won. And Republicans were not able to do what they were trying to do. So this isn't to say that in the next case that the Supreme Court hears or the case after that, you know, the results are going to be the same. You know, I've spoken passionately. You can see other YouTube videos of me talking about my concerns about the cases that the Supreme Court have taken this docket, this on its docket this year, including a rehearing of a case from Louisiana that also my law firm's been involved in. That lawsuit created also a second black opportunity district, and then a group of white voters challenged it, and that case was argued last term. The Supreme Court didn't rule, but set it for re-argument. Well, now we know that re-argument will be in early October. That is a troubling development. I'm not going to lie to you. The fact that they set it for re-argument, not a good sign. The fact that they broadened the questions presented to make it seem like maybe they have questions about the continued vitality and validity of the Voting Rights Act, very bad sign. The fact that they set it for October 15th, that's not great. But we cannot take those facts and jump to the conclusion that we're going to lose. As importantly, we cannot give Donald Trump and the Republicans and the Supreme Court justices inclined to rule against the Voting Rights Act, we cannot give them the excuse to say, well, everybody says that this is what's going to happen. No, we need to insist that the law will be followed, the precedent will be followed, and that we can, when we present our arguments in a compelling fashion, we can win before any court. Any fair-minded group of judges have the opportunity to be persuaded to do the right thing for voters, do the right thing in following the law and the Constitution, and do the right thing for democracy. Now, you may say that that's too optimistic for you, and if that's so, so be it. You're following the wrong guy, you're on the wrong YouTube channel. But if that is what you believe, then I want you to do me a favor. Number one, I want you to subscribe to Democracy Docket's free daily and weekly newsletters. A link to that is in the description below. Also, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. But I also want you to leave a comment and offer your word of support, because here's the thing. The other people watching this video, they read the comments, and it's important that they see that people are not giving up. They are not succumbing to the cynicism. They know that Donald Trump wants them to think the courts are not going to stand up and protect them, because if the courts don't stand up and protect them, no one will. So leave a comment if you agree, and if you don't agree. I want to hear from both sides. I'm going to show now the clips of me talking to Nicolle Wallace, and then I'll be right back with a little bit more.
Marc Elias, you are in court every day dealing with that wreckage. Your thoughts on this moment?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. First of all, this term is already lining up to be quite a term on democracy and voting issues. I mean, you have on October 15th, you'll have the rehearing of the Louisiana case, which could lead to the gutting of the remaining parts of the Voting Rights Act, Section 2. You also have a case that will be argued a week before that, which involves whether Republicans will be able to bring claims that challenge ballot receipt deadlines, ballots that come in after Election Day but are cast by the voter before Election Day. And there's a case that is also going to be argued that I'll be arguing for the Democrats over a campaign finance provision that Republicans are trying to gut. So there's a lot of work left in front of this Supreme Court. But on the gerrymandering piece specifically, the thing I'd add to the equation here is also technology. Like, at the same time that the Supreme Court is making it easier legally to draw gerrymanders and more frequent gerrymanders, technology is making that process scarily, dystopianly possible. I mean, you will have AI being able to draw maps that are, completely voter-proof. Like, they'll just be completely immune to voting trends. And when people say there's always been gerrymandering, I went back and thought about the first time I was involved in map drawing in the 2000 cycle. We were largely looking at paper maps and census data. And sure, were we looking at which counties we thought were good for Democrats, which towns a candidate liked more than the other? But it is nothing like what is going on now. And the Supreme Court, rather than recognizing that, seems to be burying its head in the sand and actually facilitating exactly that kind of behavior.
So, Marc Elias, how do you solve for it? I mean, what does the fight look like?
So, look, I think that the fight has three components. The first is that we cannot give the Supreme Court the out of assuming that it will do the wrong thing. What do I mean by that? We have to insist that the Supreme Court uphold Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. We have to insist that it reject the other Republican claims. And we have had success. Let's be clear. People thought that we were going to lose the North Carolina redistricting case, the Moore v. Harper. And I was proud that my law firm represented Becky Harper in that case, and we won. We were expected to lose the Alabama redistricting case, which was also a challenge to the Voting Rights Act, and I was proud that my law firm argued that case, and we won. And we were expected before that to lose a series of racial gerrymandering claims that I argued in the Supreme Court, and we won. So that's not to say that we're going to win these cases. It's not to say that everything is going to be okay, but we cannot go in with the cynic's view that it is all rigged and there's no chance, because that's what Donald Trump wants us to do. He wants us to lose hope and faith in the court and lose our insistence that the court do what is right. The second thing, though, I just want to add real quickly is that Democrats need to be clear-eyed about this moment, and we cannot unilaterally disarm. If the fact is that if Republicans are going to play by the set of rules, we need to play by them as well. All right, so that was a short appearance of mine by relative standards with Nicolle Wallace, who oftentimes has us on for a long time. That's one of the reasons I love her show. It's very, very substantive, and it is always unapologetically pro-democracy. And you know what else is unapologetically pro-democracy? Democracy Docket. I started it in 2020. To be unapologetically pro-democracy, to not be beholden to corporate overlords or special interests. There are no private venture capitalists behind it. There's no one who is calling the shots other than me and the team of 20 people at Democracy Docket who fight every day to keep you informed about what is happening to democracy and to give it to you accurately with a pro-democracy lens. So do me a favor, please subscribe to Democracy Docket. The links, again, are above and in the description below. And also, please press the subscribe button to this YouTube channel so that you'll be kept up to date every time we post new content here. Thanks. I'll see you next time.